This document links to the Statistics and Probability topic of the IB Maths course. On page 1.2 it explains what's coming up on the following pages. On page 2.1 I have 10 data points, and this line in the middle represents the mean, this line represents one standard deviation below the mean, and this is one standard deviation above the mean. Now at the moment I've got 3 data points that are sitting outside of this one standard deviation either side of the mean, and if I try and move one point out to try and get 4 points, I can get 4 points briefly, but then it goes back to 3. And so the idea being that it's quite hard to get more than 4 outside of the standard deviation of the mean, because as soon as I move one out, another one goes back inside. So it's showing that it's capturing one standard deviation either side of the mean captures a certain proportion of the data. It's roughly 2/3, but only if the data is normally distributed, really. So going on to problem 1.3, we're seeing exactly the same setup, and that I can change different values of data points. Here I've only got 8 of them now, and if I increase the number of things on show, that shows you again one standard deviation either side of the mean. I've got 3 out of 8 on the outside there. I can look at all the deviations. The ones which are pale blue are to the left, and it's just an attempt to try and alternate the different colours so you can see them all separately from each other. And then you have the squares of them all, and obviously the objective is to try and be aware that you can change the values of the squares, and so this is leading into ideas of variance and why we square the deviations, because it turns negatives into positives, and then we do the square rooting afterwards. So it's just a little playground for people to start to play around with all the different possible views of seeing data points either side of the mean, and the deviations, the squares of them, and the standard deviation. That's it. That's all it does.